Right.
because it just happened. So I spent 9 months floating across the US through three-month slots. Went to India to pick up a humanitarian award, then went back. And then I thought I was going back to the US in January this year. And so I've turned up to the airport, bags packed, daughter's driven me to the airport, bags packed, go up there. And they're like, yeah, no, you can't get on the plane. And I'm like, what? And they're like, nah, you can't get on the plane. And I'm like, why? And they're like, yeah, your ESTA's not valid. And so the US government cancels your ESTA when they choose to. And then, so I was going back to, because I'm partner and invested in things in the US, reimagining healthcare. And so I was going back for this event because we're looking at reimagining healthcare.
What if the truth came in a gel cap and we could just pop it in our mouths and forget about it? Well, it doesn't, and we can't. But we can laugh in the face of reality while plotting our survival. Welcome to the Truth Tastes Funny podcast. I am your host, Hirsch Redpoon, and if my guests can handle the truth, so can you. Open wide, folks. Here it comes. My guest today on Truth Tastes Funny is Heather Joy Bassett. Heather is a friend of mine who is an investor and a champion of people and of types of people and designs of people, and is keenly intuitive and yet has an incredible challenge self-promoting, because it just doesn't, the way she expresses herself about herself just is not the design that she was given. And so we're gonna explore this evening in our conversation all the different designs, I think, that come up in our lifetimes, and all the different lifetimes that come up by design. Please welcome Heather Joy Bassett to the show.
Hey, it's so good to be here. I mean, you invited me and I didn't even, because I don't look at the lots of details of things, and it was like the truth tastes funny. And I was like, oh my God, that is so good, because literally I can taste truth. Like, I'll be speaking something and it's like, and I know there's a higher truth or a better truth, because I'm like, this tastes.
It tastes a little funny. And that's a little different from the way that I had interpreted the title when I thought of it, because to me it's strange. The truth is strange. Reality is strange. But your gift in a lot of ways is that you have an amazing bullshit detector, and you just know, and it's not a judgmental thing. It's just, when something's not true, even if the person saying it doesn't know it's not true. Yeah. There's a difference between somebody trying to get something over on you. It's another thing where somebody's telling you something that they believe to be true, and you just know it isn't. You just, but
I know that it's like when someone's telling me something, so I can taste my own bullshit. And then it's like, ugh, ugh. And then when someone's telling me something, if it's like 1 degree off, it's like my body starts to lean, and I'm like, I just want to nudge it. I just want to nudge it over that 1 degree. And like, if something's like 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 degrees off, then it's just like, get over there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with, because you're so good at branding and helping people with their branding. And as you know, if that message is 1 degree off, it's just not going to land. And then there's more friction, there's more resistance, there's just more drama, because like there's confusion on the way through, because sort of like I sort of get it. But then, my whole body leans to the left when there's a deeper truth to be told. And literally, when I was a podiatrist and I was helping people with their feet, I used to use that, if your foot's fallen over like this, you need to put it up. And, you need to straighten it up. And I would use that as the analogy. And I would say, look, you can put something under here and it supports it and it feels better, but it really needs to be up there. And so then it's the same thing as we're talking to something. Yeah, we can play with it over here. And, we can go, yeah, support it over here. But seriously, when it's more aligned, it tastes good. It sounds good. It feels good. It's a whole, glorious playground.
Well, and your background, which is just your background alone, is fascinating as a lacrosse champion, as a podiatrist, full career, and then this awakening to your design, and where we kind of lost touch a little bit. You'd come to America. That was something that we had been talking about. You wanted to come to the United States from Australia. You weren't sure for how long or even for what purpose exactly, but it definitely had to do with investing. It had to do with finding people to connect with in the pursuit of or championship of an objective, of a goal. So maybe start there a little bit, because I really don't know much about what happened, although I follow you on social media and we communicated sporadically, but I really don't know what and it was in the middle of COVID, right? It was in the height of COVID, and you wanting to travel and then not necessarily being able to travel. That's my recollection.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Well, COVID was really tough. I mean, it was tough for everyone, but I lived in Melbourne, and Melbourne was like the biggest lockdown city in the world. Now, for someone who loves connecting with people, and I am a total ambivert, not like I blend into the furniture a lot of the time as an introvert. And then when the occasion is called, then I'm the extrovert. And so we were locked in. We weren't allowed to have family come and visit or anything. And that was really dark times. And I got really unhealthy, and I got some diagnosis going on, and it was really tough. And then there was this event in the US, and it's like, I'm going to this event. And like, we couldn't even get over the border to get out of Australia, let alone to get to the other side of the world. And it's like, I'm going. I know I'm going. And so I sort of set up all this stuff. And literally the border opened. We booked flights because I sponsored someone else to come as well, because I am that investor. And so I sponsored someone else to come. And so we literally had flights booked and all these things booked. And we were like, how are we going to get over the border? Like, we're going to catch a train up and then sneak across the border and then try and get over there. And literally the world opened up on that day. Wow. And I ended up in the event in the US. It was a great time. I think that year I got to interview Jack Nicklaus, the GOAT of golf, the greatest golfer, of all time golfer. And in the US, so in Melbourne, everyone's locked down and wearing masks. So I go to the US, I'm wearing a mask and a face guard. And no one in the US is wearing anything. Right. And so it's like, it was crazy. And so then I'm at concerts with 70,000 people, and I'm on stage and I'm meeting other investors. And it was just it was just like, where is the truth in this? Like, in Australia, we're all locked down. And in the US, there ain't no lockdown where I was.
And were you in Florida or Texas or where were you?
Yeah. Well, I traveled quite a bit. Then it was Florida. Yeah, so Florida.
Because in Florida, it was much more open.
Yes.
It had been much more open already. But I remember you went, all these pieces are coming together now. I think you went to see the Stones.
I did.
You went to see the Rolling Stones.
I did. And I went to see the Rolling Stones, and I had a face mask on. And then I had a plastic shield because I was so conditioned being in Melbourne that, and also, here's the funny thing. Like, in Australia, it was like, it wasn't okay if one person died. And like, so we had one of the smaller death rates from COVID anywhere. Right. And because there were such stringent factors in place, maybe, and yet, like, around the world, hundreds of thousands of people died. So I'm in concerts, and I remember walking down the street of Florida, and I've just arrived, so I'm still got the mask, got the thing on, got the face mask, the plastic guard.
Yeah.
Some guy drives down the road and he's like, yeah, what spaceship did you just crawl out of or something?
Yeah.
And then so it was just crazy to be at Rolling Stones concert, Elton John concert. And it was literally like chalk and cheese. And it was really weird to like, what is my truth in what even is this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you discover? What was the message that you received from this experience?
Oh, like just the fear that was instilled in people and the disconnect it created. So in Melbourne and in parts of Australia, in Melbourne, because we were the biggest lockdown city, there were more people died from suicide. There were more than COVID. And the businesses that went bust were just because, there was more, I guess the wake that followed was, and still there, and it divided our nation. It divided our nation more than, because we've never had a civil war, and it divided our nation more than anything else has probably ever divided it. It was just, it was horrendous, but it was all fear-led. And I could just feel the fear in my body. And because my parents are 90-year-old, and I had such fear that, if I got it and then I gave it to them, like, how do you live with that?
Yeah.
So it was just fear-based. And because I have, even though I'm world champion and had lots of success, I have quite damaged lungs from asthma as a kid or asthma for a long time. And so, I was statistically really high risk if I got it. So it was a fascinating thing. And now I'm like, okay, if I get it, we're going to go one day, because there's a news. I never listen to the news, rarely listen to the news. Someone tells me, and I turned there was a TV where I am, and they were talking about the next strain coming through. And I was like, oh my God, I've been so out of that world of just like,
We don't have time. We don't have time for new strains of COVID, because we have natural disasters and political unrest. And, there's like so much stuff and that's why I started this podcast, because for me, it was, I had someone asked me, oh, do you want to do a podcast? And there's a group called the Pantheon and a bunch of really wonderful podcasters. They said, we don't have anybody who does a show that is like comedy driven or anything like that. Do you want to do something? And I said, well, comedy is important, but the ability to identify even and relate to and digest the truth is what really is fascinating me now. And I would like to talk to people who have figured out a way to get through life and keep their head on, and how do they cope, and also let people know that everybody struggles and everybody's struggling with various things. And I've had guests talk about every conceivable serious issue that you can imagine, and there's no dictate that's like, oh, we have to bring a sense of you. It isn't like, let's make fun of the news. It's not that either. It's just my, my relationship with reality and absurdity is, an ongoing quest for something. And so, in terms of what I do find fascinating is, on the one hand, there's this self-discovery that you had about human design and an interest in human design. And then there's the investor side that has you kind of meeting all of these movers and shakers and billionaires and real estate people and all of these people. And what's that been like?
Oh, it's just like the most extraordinary and fascinating experience to be, because I had a podiatry clinic, one of the best podiatry clinics around, because I was in a national coaching group, and they're like, your numbers are through the roof, well-oiled machine. And so I realized, playing with the billionaires, the multimillionaires, that playing the game of business, when someone said you're playing the game of business, I was like, oh, dang, I haven't really been playing the game of business.
Yeah.
And as a world champion, I'd gone up the levels. In Australia. We call it D grade, C grade, B grade, A grade, state, national, test series, world series.
Right.
And then I was like, dang, I hadn't really done that in business, even though I was playing at a different level. And then I was playing very insular. Like, people came to me from all over the world to get their feet, to get aligned, to move forward with more grace and ease, and 4 generations. And it was glorious. And so I'd mastered my diagnostic skills, which is where the truth, finding the truth, like that diagnostic skills. And then my ability with a scalpel is mesmerizing. I'd have students, graduates, and even clients, people watching, I've got goosebumps, like my ability to just slice through effortlessly things. And I'm like, that's around truth as well.
Yeah.
And so, but I was playing. And so I guess I was a bit of a big fish in my own small bubble, because I wasn't interacting with anyone else really. And then I had this business that was like at the edge of franchising, and things went really pear-shaped, and I didn't understand why. And my team was actually building the franchise behind my back without me. And so we ended up with, they took me to court for something. It was family. It was heartbreaking. It was tragic. It's taken me a long time to be able to talk about it and to laugh about the absurdity of how something so beautiful and so perfect went so wrong.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to understand how it went so wrong. And someone introduced me to human design, and suddenly all the pieces of the puzzle, and I literally then went from the mountain of success and literally went to the bottom. And then I went underneath the mountains to turn over every rock to understand. And then, so even though I have expertise in multiple things like the world champion, lacrosse, diagnostics, scalpel, I wasn't leading myself. And so I hadn't done the work on myself, I suppose, even though I've been working on myself since my grandmother as a child. And so one of the other guys that I had the privilege of interviewing was Stedman Graham. And he's like, leadership of self first. And I'm like, okay, I did that second. And that's where, like, even though there's such tragedy in there, and then that's a thing with the humor, like, we got to be, you just got to be able to laugh at, oh my God, seriously, that led to that. We just led to that simply because we don't know. We just don't know. And it's like, why is this so wrong when it's so right? Why am I totally suicidal and living in the dark when I'm so joyous? It doesn't make any sense. And here's the thing, like, truth tastes. It makes sense. It makes sense. Things just make sense at a cellular level. So then sitting at the feet of billionaires, it was like they got me on another level that no one else in the world has got. And one of the billionaires, he's like, so you're like Galileo. You effortlessly show me a brand new world. And I think one of your things, when you said, you know, we went to the desert and it was like we dropped acid and it was just me and Heather.
That's the thing I wrote that you related to. And and it was a post. We'll find it on Facebook because I ended up posting it, and you loved it. It was like a testimonial. That's what it was. It wasn't a bio. It was a testimonial. I'm going to find it. Okay.
It was just I think it was
short.
4 lines.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and again, nicknames for people. Fred's a billionaire, so it gets called Billionaire Fred. And he's like, so you see the interconnectedness. You see the interconnectedness of the whole, and you see the interconnectedness of the whole evolving over time. And I was like, oh my God, I do. And then as the world champion, it was because I would intercept things. I'm always intercepting. And so then when I'm playing with championing people, I'm always intercepting. I'm always diagnosing, reading the play many, many, many moves ahead and intercepting, because it's like, you go there. I know what's going to happen. You know, I know what's going to happen. Don't go there. Okay, you got to go there. Okay. we'll just pick up the places, we just pick up the pieces, later. And then my higher strength is activator. So, if you want to, if you've got some movement, or you've got some fundraising, or you've got, a startups and whatever, or you've got an event happening, you want an activator in the room.
Right.
Because it just happens. So I spent 9 months floating across the US through three-month slots, went to India to pick up a humanitarian award, then went back. And then I thought I was going back to the US in January this year. And so I turned up to the airport, bags packed, daughter's driven me to the airport, bags packed, go up there. And they're like, yeah, no, you can't get on the plane. And I'm like, what? And they're like, nah, you can't get on the plane. And I'm like, why? And they're like, yeah, your ESTA's not valid. And so the US government cancels your ESTA when they choose to. And then, so I was going back to, because I'm partner and invested in things in the US, reimagining healthcare. And so I was going back for this event because we're looking at reimagining healthcare. And then it was like, and so then I'm just left standing at the airport like, I'm not going, and then sort of having a little meltdown and going, I'm not going. All right. The universe has decided.
Right.
I'm supposed to do something else, evidently.
Yeah. And so what happened after that?
So then I'm like, okay, well, then I thought, where am I going to go somewhere else? And then Fred was like, billionaires are very wise people.
Well, I would
not
imagine
all of them.
if they made the money, if they became billionaires through some device of their own, they're probably quite brilliant. If they inherited it,
yes,
it's a more specious,
Well, I've met both, and again, the people I meet are heart-led people who are generous and good people and relevant. But yeah, he was like, if you go back 100 years or 200 years ago, you would have had the impact, but you would have had it, local. And so then I was like, because I sold everything, donated lots of things, given away more to charity than I've earned recently. And then I was like, okay, I don't have a home. I bought a van, and I've been on the road now for this particular time, 3.5 months, because I'm like, well, I still had itchy feet. So I'm traveling up around Australia, and I'm doing it with my brother and my sister-in-law. And it's extraordinary to spend months with people that when we were younger, we spent much time together.
Right.
And now the beauty is that I understand their human design. So I get them at a level that reduces friction, that reduces drama, I see them. I'm like, someone's doing this and doing that. And I see them playing out. And I'm like,
right.
I get it. I just get it.
How do they process that? How do they take the design element?
So my bro has no interest at all.
Right.
And my sister-in-law has a little dabble. The thing is, they don't need to know it. It just helps me navigate, because I know all three of us make decisions differently. All three of us have different energy types. All three of us have different motivations. All three of us have different environments that we're designed to live in. And so it's fascinating because we're traveling for months, and then even though they're in a van and I'm in a van, because there's 12 different environments we're naturally born to live in, and they're both living in their natural design. And then sometimes I am, because I'm designed to be in narrow valleys, which is the travel. Now, a lot of the places that I'm in Western Australia, like, it's vast. It's all mostly desert. There's very few people. And in the wide open spaces, I don't travel so good. I don't feel so good. My brain doesn't work so good, because I know that's not the environment that I'm designed to be. And then as soon as I get in the narrow valleys, it's like my body comes alive. but they're kitchens and caves, and they can create that perfectly. So they're thriving better than I am. But the thing is, it's cool because I have the awareness of the impact of not being in my environment.
And you can compensate for it, I guess, knowing what's a challenge for you. You know, you told me we went through this to some extent, you know, my design, and you told me, I think that I'm a manager. I can't remember.
Yeah. So you are designed to nail the message, to work with the systems and have multiple projects going on. Like your ability to manage like extraordinary things, many things. So a lot of people, there are people who say, you know, you need to focus here. And it's no, you would have, you know, you would be someone that's designed to have many more things going on than you can possibly even imagine that you're designed to have. So I know some people doing that, and like 1 minute they're just doing a little bit of real estate investment. Now they're a CEO managing something like 76 companies.
Yeah.
Like there's a leveling up that we can all do when we, you know, strip away the conditioning of what we've been taught and expected to, and you know what life looks like. And that's the thing with human design. I'm like, this is, and then I champion that potential of like, oh baby, you can go places, and
this is
that
why
you haven't
people,
even imagined.
Yeah, but that's why people rail against the educational systems that, you know, and I can't remember who said this, but it was that you're free until you're about 4 years old, and after that your life isn't your own anymore. And you know, you're conditioned at that point to pursue certain things, be limited to certain things, and that's without even imposing religion on top of things, or culture or family, you know, expectations. Let's just call them expectations, or parameters that are put around children, you know. So one of the things that we talked about a little bit was we were trying to figure out for a little while there how to brand you, or how to, you know, how do we frame Heather in such a way that she can do her best work, you know?
Yeah.
And even that was a challenge. But here we are a couple of years later, and having gone through, we met during the pandemic, I think, because I was taking a peak performance class or performance course, and you were in the same program. And we shared, I think, a sense of humor about what people thought was the way or the answer, you know. And, you know, and I think that's one of the things that we share. But now, how do you see your role day to day? How far ahead do you look? You know, how far ahead do you look for what you might be called to do?
Well, it's crazy fascinating, because even so, for someone else, I'm constantly reading the play. Like when I'm in the room, I'm reading the play. As soon as I'm connecting, and reading the play at these deeper levels is searching for the truths. And then where there's darkness, because I know darkness intimately, I know it so intimately, and then people don't want to talk about the really dark times, and it's like, I know it. And you know, I've experienced the joy of depression, because again, we make it so wrong to play in that very necessary place. So for me, the only thing that works is to be deeply present in the moment. And then there's a thing called variables that I've only really sort of discovered recently, and literally it's ridiculous, because we started at the start. It was like you were starting to like, okay, what are we going to call you? And if we'd recorded that, you would have just watched me like, yeah, because I'm literally designed to be strategic for whoever I'm with at the time, and then be strategic for the people that I'm with. And so literally I can have two warring factions here, and then I'm like strategic for this person and strategic for this person, totally separated, knowing that knowing that they can come together, because I'm here to bring union for people. And we have all these warring factions, and we have this warring faction inside ourselves. And that warring faction inside, our heart wants something and our head wants something, and maybe our soul wants something else. Unless it comes together, then we're going to get all these health problems. We're going to get all these dramas. We're going to get all this stuff going on because we're at war with ourselves. Now, if we're at war with ourselves, it's going to be showing up in front of us as well, with the neighbor or the kid or the whatever there. So I'm constantly, in a way, I'm a futurist because I know where things are going, but that's mainly for someone else. Like, I know I need to be in the room, so I'm going to drive 4.5 hours, and then I'm going to catch a bus that takes me 7 hours because I know I need to be in a room on Monday. And then I'm going to catch a plane, which is going to take like 6 hours, and be in a room for a day. And then I'll get to catch up with family for a moment. And then I'm going to be flying back and catching the bus and driving to catch up with my family again, because all I know is I know I need to be in the room.
Yeah.
I know I need to be in the room. It's like, I know I need to be in the room with you. What's going to unfold? Hey.
Yeah.
That's not for me to know. That's what we find out in the moment. Whereas, other people, like, they're designed to plan everything. And that's brilliant. Just don't expect me to do it, because you plan so I can turn up.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can turn up, and then I can be me. And then people ask me, what's your plan? What's your plan? And I'm like, yeah.
Well, we talked about that because we were like, oh, maybe we should do a stage thing together, like a mastermind or we'll do some kind of thing. And you were like, great, I'll just turn up. And I was like, well, we don't know what it is. And you're like, well, I don't know what it is either. But if you're doing it and it's organized, and it's like, this is where I need to be, I'll know it and I'll be there. And, and that'll be that. And the funny thing is, that sounds great to a lot of people. That would sound like a nightmare, and it might be, but at the same time, you, like you just said, the person who needs to construct it needs to construct it. That is their need. And if they construct it, then you will appear there because they've constructed the thing that you need to be at. But your way actually saves a lot of time because it doesn't invest time in things that are just wheel spinning, hopefully, where people are spinning their wheels in their own misguided maelstrom, Yeah,
I think the important thing to recognize is that, like, we're literally all born with a role. We're all born with a perspective that we're here. And the thing is, I didn't even know the word till recently, but we're all differentiated. Like, we literally, every single person is here. And so even if I look at one of the billionaires, he's here to passionately dance through life and to explore opportunities and to build things. And he builds things, and he's born to nurture his community. And he does that. He nurtures everyone he can in the community. He's got food trucks going out, and he goes and hands out food on the Wednesday night under the bridge. And he is doing exactly what he's designed to do. And people have this illusion of people with money this or people with money that. People were born to be billionaires because they can manage the money.
Because they know what to do with it. Yeah.
They know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And 70% of the world are put on the planet to be satisfied. And they talk about success, and they talk like, you're here to be satisfied. Are you satisfied? And most of them aren't. They're frustrated, dissatisfied, frustrated. And you listen to the words. I'm so frustrated. And I can I feel the frustration. And then there are people who are frustrated and angry. And then there were it's called, my signature is peace, is joy. I'm here to be joyously and peaceful.
Yeah.
And then when I'm not that, I'm agitated and angry.
Yeah.
And then if we're playing in the truth and the higher levels of truth, because truth is always unfolding, then I just become more joyous and more peaceful in my body.
Yeah.
And then if we're playing in the shadows, in the darker, then it's agitated and I get angry because it's like, oh, there's a better way and I'm here to show the better way.
Yeah.
And so there are people here to build out systems, designed to. People to sort of manage multiple systems, designed to. 21% are here to guide people. And then without this awareness, then someone will be saying, oh, well, they're lazy, they're not putting in.
Right.
And the amount of people who've said to me, well, you need to do this. And I'm like, I don't. You need to build out your structures. I don't. Even in my podiatry clinic, I built something that had structures. And then a team came to me. I didn't go get a team, that magnetically drawn to me, and they built the structures around me.
Yes.
They were strategic for me. And then some of them got a little greedy and a little gluttony showed up, and then things didn't go so well. But the reality is all the expectations and judgments that we have that Hirsch will do this, I'm like, no, he won't. And that Heather will do that. I'm like, no, she won't. Because I already know, no, that's someone else is designed to do that bit. That's how we all intersect. That's an interconnectedness. No, you do this bit. All right. And so in my day-to-day job is to look at the big picture. So then I'm like, so if we look at the big picture, it's like, okay, I'm looking at the big picture. Who's here to manage the next level? Hirsch is here to do that. Okay. Who's here to sell it? Someone. There are people who were born to sell. Born to sell. People born to do day-to-day strategy. They do the day-to-day implementation. People born to market people. They do the marketing. And then people born to produce stuff. Now, yes, we can play in all of those roles. But if you get me trying to produce stuff, I'm like, just suck the life out of me and just, it's like, put me in a really dark place.
Thanks so much for tuning into Truth Tastes Funny. If you enjoyed the experience, please leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your friends.